Hello, Declan Costello here, talking to you from the ELS Congress in Milan. I'm with Fred Dikkers at the ENT newsstand, and we're going to be chatting about laryngology in general, and particularly about Fred's long and extremely illustrious career in ENT and in laryngology, and perhaps with a focus on recurrent respiratory papillomatosis, for which Prof Dikkers is internationally renowned. So Fred, lovely to see you.
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking me to come here. It's a real pleasure. ENT started for me in 1984. I was a young resident by then, and I decided to do ENT because a good friend of my 7-year-old brother, he was an ENT surgeon, and I had to do a scientific part of my study, and I thought, well, I go to Peter, and Peter is gonna help me. And he had something on voice and on polyps and on cysts, and so I asked another guy, a supervisor, when do you know it's a polyp? When do you know it's a cyst? And he said, that's a very good question. Why don't you look it up? So I wrote a paper on that, and that was part of what later became my PhD thesis, and that's on benign lesions of the vocal folds. And working on that and going into ENT in that residency as well, I met this 6-month-old boy with recurrent respiratory papillomatosis, and I know the date of his birth, and that is not good when you know a patient's date of birth. And he was born in 1988, and I've been following my whole life, and when I when I retired a few months ago, he came to my farewell party. He is 35 right now, and that's fantastic. And I've operated on him more than 100 times. So he's my personal motivation to do something on RRP.
Yeah, I mean, RRP is just such a difficult problem, such an intractable problem in so many people. Tell us a little bit about the sort of history of management of RRP over the years. How's it been managed historically?
The first scientific paper on RRP was published exactly 100 years ago this year. And when I started my residency, we used the cold instruments, so that's the knife and forceps, and well, the microscopes were not as good as they are right now. In our university, we had the first laser in Western Europe, and so we started treating them with the laser as well. And well, then the laser we thought it's a carbon dioxide laser, and we thought it was going to be helpful for everybody. So it ended up in 90% of patients being treated with the laser. And then new instruments developed, like the microdebrider and later the coblation and additional lasers. So the carbon dioxide laser went down. Quite recently, the carbon dioxide laser had better possibilities with the AccuSpot, and it comes up again. I don't think you need one surgical instrument to treat it. You need to use number one, what's good in your hands, and number two, what facilities you've got. And we can discuss everything to use this and that. But when you're in Lagos, Nigeria, you don't have the instruments, and then you still have to use the cold instruments. So we cannot dictate as Western rich countries how to treat it, and therefore we should try to prevent it.
And lots has changed over the last 10 years, and I think a lot will change in the next 10 years as well with respiratory papillomatosis. What do you see as the biggest developments in the last 10 years?
I think the use of the vaccine as a therapeutic mode is being very helpful. The problem is, conceptually, it cannot work. The green side of the problem is that in meta-analysis, it works. So conclusion of a study I was not participating in was the use of vaccine should be endorsed and in early this year we published a paper where this endorsement was motivated again, but not exactly in those words. So that is the therapeutic vaccine. Hopefully, however, we will turn papillomatosis from a surgical disease into a medical disease where everybody will be treated with medication. And there are recent developments, and they have been presented in Boston last month and will be presented here this afternoon. There will be a medication, and hopefully that will work well for all people.
And as you say, that maybe is a development for the next 10 years, and clearly the vaccine, not only as a treatment but also as a preventative thing, which is obviously the most important aspect.
Absolutely. There is two problems with it. Currently there is one factory making this vaccine, and they have it in two brands. It's the 4-valent vaccine or the 9-valent vaccine. The 4-valent is going to the developing countries only, and the rich countries have to buy the 9-valent vaccine, which is more expensive. Unfortunately, in my country, the Netherlands, we still use the bivalent vaccine, which is not for the HPV 6 and 11. And it's terrible, and we're working on it, but my country is a rather frugal country, so it is a little bit cheaper.
In the UK, it took a lot of work and a lot of lobbying from ENT surgeons to really push it, so I'm sure it will happen in your country too.
Yeah.
So listen, tell us what you've recently retired from clinical practice. What are your plans now? You're still very active, still very busy. What are your plans?
My work is I'm guiding some PhD students, and obviously on laryngology as well. So we're working on the trachea, embryology of the trachea. A few people know a lot about the trachea. That is a major issue of mine. In addition, I put a lot of work in the button battery, and the button battery just last week was International Button Battery Awareness Day, and I have, together with a cardiothoracic surgeon from Groningen University and 2 technicians from Technical University in Delft, we have invented a safe button battery, and there is a fuse in there. So the moment you swallow the battery, it gets drenched in saliva, and the huge current that it gives away will be cut because the fuse burns down. And currently we're trying to industrialize that, and that would be a major accomplishment. We have been discussing this with major battery injuries, and I won't mention names, but yes, the company you're thinking of, we talked with them as well, and they had different plans. We are now working on legislation, and just this month or last month we sent a letter with a lot of European medical organizations, including the ELS. We sent it to the European Commission to make stronger legislation. And this afternoon we will have a first meeting where we merge the American Button Battery Task Force and this European Task Force into one global task force. And I've been very active in that, being the only one who was a member of both task forces.
No, it's a hugely problematic area, and the trauma caused by button batteries clearly is absolutely enormous. Listen, you've retired from clinical practice, but you're obviously not slowing down in terms of work. What are you going to be doing outside of work in the next few months and years?
Well, it's a very cliche. I'm trying to improve my golf handicap.
Oh, very good.
And not successfully, but it stayed at the same level. In addition, my daughter and her whole family, they moved 200 kilometers to 700 meters from our house, and they have 4 grandparents, and I have 2 grandchilds, and we take care of them one day. So that is fantastic. In addition, I still try to get my mind on how to improve laryngology as a whole and what are the main subjects, and that's really quite a few things. So I think there has been an enormous improvement in visualization. When I started, we used a mirror and we had the gagging people and we had the mirror on the head, and that was, well, we really looked like a doctor. And that's gone now. But then we had the fibers, and the fibers broke, and we had all the black spots. Now we have all video and color and 3D, and that's fantastic. We have narrowband imaging, and it's competing techniques from other companies, but that is really fantastic. We saw an improvement on laser, the use of laser, as I already told, but there are many laser sources, so carbon dioxide, we have the KTP, we have the argon dye, we have the blue laser. We saw improvements in anesthesia. When I started, we just had the mask, and now we have intravenous anesthesia, and we have tubeless anesthesia with the dead ventilation, and that is fantastic. We have the transnasal endoscopy with a working channel where we can do lots of things endoscopically. That is really great. We get to know more about stenosis and how to treat that endoscopically as well as external. We learn more in trauma surgery, and we should even learn more. So yeah, there's a future ahead in laryngology.
Many developments to come. I think we should stop because the main lecture is just about to finish, so we're going to be deluged with people coming out. Fred, lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time, and congratulations again on your retirement. And I do hope you find some time to get your golf handicap down.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It was great.
Pleasure. Fred Dikkers, Prof. Fred Dikkers, it's lovely to see you again. The last time we met, I think, was in Milan in June 2023, and we're now in February 2024. Very good to see you again.
Thank you very much, and nice for having me here in this meeting. Thank you, Declan.
No, pleasure. It's really nice to chat to you. And today really is a catch-up after our conversation last year. Firstly, because it's always nice to chat to you, and secondly, because I think there are some sort of developments that we could maybe chat about in terms of the research and the projects that you have on the go. Let's just chat first of all. I mean, I know we spoke extensively about RRP last year, and there maybe isn't too much in the way of development in that area. Has anything happened in the last sort of 9 months that we need to know about, do you think?
Concerning RRP, yeah, quite a few things have happened. There is a new immunotherapeutic agent which has been developed by a company in Philadelphia, and it has passed a phase 2 study in the United States, and it seems to be more effective than, in randomization, it was more effective than not providing it. So they are now trying to get that in a phase 3 research, including Europe, and they asked me to be the liaison between the United States and Europe. So I'm approaching several RRP interested colleagues to try to persuade them to join in this prospective study. However, there has been another company, and that was by the not the NHS, the NDA, and the NDA that is by Clint Allen, and he is an otolaryngologist in Bethesda in Maryland, and that is a DNA carried transformation, and it has been tried on 12 patients and also proves to be effective. And now the NDA sort of got mixed up, so both these agents have been put in an accelerated approval program. I went to both companies, and what does that mean? Well, actually, we don't know, they said. So it does not mean they are on the market yet, but they will come on the market in, well, probably 25, maybe 26. That is very, very good news for the patients, because the thing they hate most is the surgical intervention.
No, that's fantastic. So that's two really very exciting developments in RRP, and it seems that in the last 10 years particularly, there's been a real acceleration of new therapeutic options and research things coming through. So that's fantastic. After many years of sort of difficulty in progressing things, it's really, things have really
Absolutely.
gone. Yeah, fantastic.
I agree. And the strange goal actually is to make us laryngologists unnecessary in treatment of RRP.
Yeah,
So
I
it
mean,
is
we want this
effective.
to be a medical disease. We don't want it to be a surgical disease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just
Mhm. Yeah.
that.
Brilliant. No, that's very exciting. So we'll watch this space for respiratory papillomatosis developments. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was button batteries. I mean, last year in Milan, we talked about your work with the manufacturers and in research about making button batteries safer. Do you have an update for us?
Yeah, we have. Let me start recollecting the injury. If you swallow a button battery, well, especially the small child, if he or she swallows a battery and it gets lodged preferably at the esophageal entrance or at the aortic arch or down. Um, if it gets lodged at the esophageal arch, well, it will start a liquefying necrosis, and there will become a hole. If it comes anteriorly, it comes into the trachea, you have this fistula. If it goes posteriorly, you lose the patient because there will be a esophageal aortic fistula, which is not good. And I have been confronted with these cases several times. Occasionally, we lost a patient to that, a healthy patient, and it's a terrible thing. With my one of my very best friends, who is a cardiothoracic surgeon, I used to operate on them together with him, and we decided on a nice evening with a glass of white wine that there should be the what is it called, the thing in between the two poles, that which
Yeah,
is,
a fuse or something like
yeah, a fuse, to develop a fuse in there. And we have 2 patents on it now, and we're working on a third patent. It will be actually next week that will go to the writer. And we are we're going to develop a company where we're going to really manufacture this, and have the idea to sell this invention to the companies. But we don't want to sell it to just one company, because that will give that particular company an enormous advantage. So we want to do the package deal, and that is to sell it to all. So we try to get investment in this company from the 6 major companies. However, unfortunately, this was refused because it would smell like making a cartel, and so that was not possible. We're now looking for other ways of finance, and well, that it looks very promising. And then, so we have to make a prototype, like, I mean, the proof of principle is there. We want to make a prototype in series like 10,000 or so, and then we can show that to the manufacturers. And the gasket, that is the word I was looking for. The gasket has got the fuse in it.
okay.
And so that's what we're trying. The amount of bottom batteries is amazing. We spoke to one of the 6 companies, and one of the 6 major companies, and they make the unbelievable number of 175 batteries per second. Yeah,
That's
that is really
extraordinary.
amazing. So the 6 major factories, they make about 1,000 per second. That
That's
is 1,000,
absolutely
2,000,
astonishing.
3,000, 4,000. I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing. And we have been calculating the number of victims. Many of us have heard of one
Mm.
serious victim. We calculated on the real numbers, and we found that there must be like between 5 and 10,000 seriously injured or demised patients per year in the world, and that is huge.
No, it is, and it's unacceptable. And it seems your idea, the concept seems really clear and obvious, and you would have thought that the manufacturers would be right behind it. So I really hope it develops.
It is, there is another step, however, it will of course make the battery more expensive. The button battery, if there are 4 companies trying to implement it, and then companies number 5 and 6 will be cheaper. And in the supermarket, you will buy the cheap one. So we have made another major step, and that is that our team has been awarded the Gold Award in the product safety, consumer product safety from the European Union. And that was awarded last December. And they want to implement our invention in the batteries, in the legislation, well, the moment it becomes available.
Yeah.
So when we have our Series 0 ready, then we are going to get in touch with the European community again, and they are going to change the law that within Europe only these batteries can be sold, and then we have a major step.
Absolutely, that will make a huge difference, and that will mean that everybody will have to do it. Well, that's
Exactly.
huge. Oh well, look, I hope we can catch up again about this in the next sort of year or 18 months, because it sounds like things are gonna happen in relatively short time. So yeah, no, congratulations on pushing that forward, and I'm sure.
Thank you.
Listen, the final thing I wanted to talk about was news that reached us that you have been nominated for a Rare Angel Award. So many, many congratulations on that. Tell us about the Rare Angel Award and why you were nominated.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very proud. The Rare Angel Award is awarded by the Dutch Society on Rare and Genetic Diseases, and it is a once a year they have the Rare Disease Day, and it's the last day of February. And on that day, they will award the this Rare Angel. And the Rare Angel is a professional who has done more for a disease than should be expected from this professional. There are 3 categories, and you can be nominated by patients or by colleagues. And the funny thing, and the thing I'm very humble about, is that I was nominated by both patients and colleagues, and that is unusual, they told me. And within a few days, it will be the end of February, and I will hear what happens. So I haven't got it, but I've been nominated and I was invited. It's in the palace where the former queen lived, and so that's really great. And I'm going there in a few days, and we'll see.
That's really exciting. I've lost track of what date it is now. It's about the 24th of February as we speak, something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll know in 5 days' time. But no, I mean, even to be nominated for the award is clearly a huge honor, and absolutely appropriate given all the work you've done on papillomatosis over the years.
Thank you.
Very many congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Fred, we'll wrap up in a second. I know that you're busy skiing and golfing and looking after grandchildren and all the other things that you're meant to do, as well as the button batteries and the papillomatosis and the awards and all the rest of it. So thank you again for speaking to us, Fred. It's great to chat, and maybe we can catch up again in a little while, particularly on the button battery story, because that's potentially huge.
I always look forward to talking with you, Declan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. All the very best.